So in this video and the next, we'll go through the full story of Roblox Piggy, from start to finish, so subscribe and let's begin.
The story begins in the middle of a grand war, taking place in the breakout chapter. Tigry, who has faced abuse for his whole life, is tasked with the infiltration of an enemy base. Accompanying him is another soldier, Danny. The two of them started the raid on the enemy, and are led into a system of narrow tunnels. Suddenly, Tigry begins to lose control of himself, and within moments stabs Danny in the leg with a knife. When Tigry realizes what happened, he falls into a spiral of trauma. Days pass and he leaves the military, not to be seen again. Some time passes and an old shop owner, Eddie the Elephant, discovers a weird purple crystal. Seeing this mysterious object, he begins to research into recent incidents where people have observed hallucinations, and he makes one important observation. Whenever people begin to hallucinate, these strange orange and black eyes seem to follow. As he studies these strange eyes, he begins to hear strange whispers, telling him to visit a place known as the South Ruins. Eddie calls his friend Finley and they begin their expedition in the South Ruins.
In a city called Lucella, a town of talking animals, billionaire Mr. P and his wife Mrs. P live. One day, Mrs. P catches a disease and is rushed to the hospital. The doctors look for a cure and can't find any, so Mr. P takes things into his own hands. He tries to create a cure to save his wife from the lymphoma disease. Soon enough, he does, and names it Substance 128. Mr. P needed some trials to make sure it was safe first. Then comes the Piggy family, a young girl called Penny and her parents, and a boy named Georgie, who wasn't present. Each of them except Georgie is given some of Substance 128, and sure enough, the cure is giving positive results. The Piggy family grew stronger, so he gave it to his wife, certain that it would work. The Piggy family was released from observation and returned home to Georgie. But Georgie noticed something was weird about them. How they would act aggressively. Then they became infected. Meanwhile, at an alleyway city, you, the player, are a police detective who is trying to bust a robbery of the stolen pie that for some reason was guarded by lasers. Two thieves named Willow and Rash attempt to escape, but soon enough you catch them, and they are taken away to the station. As you finish that case, you are introduced to a new one, a missing persons case, and you're looking for a small pig named Georgie. You soon arrive at the Piggy residence, the last known location of Georgie. Within seconds of you leaving the car, you are whacked in the head with a baseball bat and pass out.
You wake up in a bed in the house of the Piggy family. Soon after, you find yourself running away from an 8-foot tall pig with red eyes and that same baseball bat from a few seconds ago. Penny, but much taller and violent. You use a few keys to escape this mysterious house and decide you should probably get to the station. Upon arriving at the station, you hear a loud message on the intercom asking you to go to the garage. You find yourself running around the station, avoiding acid and being chased by another 8-foot tall pig, this time wearing a purple dress, Penny's mother. You make it to the garage, where you are reunited with Officer Doggy, who asks you to retrieve a gas can. You both drive off, asking questions about this sudden outbreak until your car runs out of fuel in the middle of the street. You and Doggy manage to take shelter at a nearby art gallery. You and Doggy lock yourselves in the gallery, only to realize you're not alone. An infected pig with a turquoise dress. Somehow, you know this is Penny's father. Once again, you escape the gallery, beginning to question how the infection spread so fast. These faces look so familiar to you, but why? There's only two ways that a person can become infected: by drinking Substance 128 or by being attacked by another infected. Keep that in mind. 3 weeks after the gallery incident, you and Doggy are camping in a forest where you sleep on benches, which is kind of odd considering the whole infection going on. However, As you sleep, you're not alone. Behind the trees of the forest are two people, Willow and somebody else, watching you and Doggy, desperate for revenge on both of you for arresting their family. In Willow's hand is a sample of Substance 128. You wake up to the sound of glass dropping and Doggy missing. You look around the forest, only to find Doggy infected. You find yourself overwhelmed with emotion while trying to escape the forest. Fortunately, you find a walkie-talkie with an unfamiliar voice on the other side. They ask you to retrieve their friend from the school.
You arrive at the school where the voice requests you to go into the sewers after finding that person. You find a short rabbit called Bunny who wears an eye patch that is armed with a crossbow. She follows you to the sewers where you see that the man you were speaking to on the walkie-talkie was none other than billionaire Mr. P. The two of you share a small greeting until you begin to feel very ill. You pass out in the school sewers. Your eyes open to see yourself being rushed through the hospital. For a brief moment, you see Doggy. But that's impossible. He was just infected. Right? You awaken in the hospital that has been bought by Mr. P, where you see that Bunny has been watching over you. It turns out seconds before you awoke, the infected started raiding the hospital. Bunny tells you that Mr. P is waiting for you on the roof with his helicopter. You evacuate through the hallways and get to the roof. However, he is not there. You feel betrayed. Reluctantly, you head underground to the metro station instead, so that you can use the train to escape. Whilst you repair it, Bunny sits down on the ground, almost lifeless. Once the train is ready, she finally reveals that she drank the potion made by Mr. P. She's gone, just like Doggy. You are absolutely horrified, but with no other choice but to leave her behind and go on without her. You get off the train at Mr. P's carnival because why wouldn't a rich man have a carnival? On your way you find a note signed by TSP next to an infected fox in a cage. TSP trapped him there. You try to look for him but you find two new characters called Pony and Zizzy. You travel with them to the city to go to a building they call the safe place. You talk about life for a moment, and Zizzy reveals that she has two sisters. As of Pony, well, here's just Pony. A noise comes from the alleyway, a shadowy figure. Similar to a mole, it is listening to you. You follow the shadowy figure into the mall, and you accidentally activate a security mall robot along the way that has a chainsaw for a freaking arm. You unlock the final door to discover the shadowy figure was Georgie, the person you've been looking for since the beginning. You arrive at the safe place soon after and are introduced to some new characters. Z and Zizzy, which are the younger twin sisters of Zizzy. Z is unable to speak, and Mimi, who is a mole with glasses for some reason. And Giraffe, he's Giraffe. Literally nothing special about him.
You, Zizzy, and Pony arrive at a military outpost, where there's an infected pyromaniac with a flamethrower. Somehow, you avoid him long enough to be able to break into a nearby lab. Before you enter, however, you discovered that Georgie had followed you, seeking revenge on Mr. P for ruining his life. Reluctantly, you allow him to tag along, and as you enter the plant, a horde of infected arrive. Zizzy and Pony decide to stay back, where Pony has a little love confession. You enter into the lab and see Mr. P with an upgrade, spending the entirety of his budget on giving himself cool robot arms and legs. You try to talk to him, but end up getting ignored as he dismisses you as being ghosts, leading to both you and Georgie becoming frustrated. After blowing up his lab with dynamite, you finally manage to get his attention. He confesses to his actions, admitting that they were a mistake. Although not satisfied, you and Georgie are forced to just accept it and leave Mr. P to protect himself. After regrouping with Zizzy and Pony, you head back to the safe place.